We're going to have three people actually. We have Francisco Herrera that's going to open for David Rovics. So I'm going to give you Francisco's bios, if you don't know. When Francisco, growing up in the border town of Jalisco, California, Francisco Herrera always traveled two worlds. He says, my siblings and cousins and I used to sing rancheras and some mariachi at family parties. And when we got a little older, we started some garage rock bands. He recalls of his early musical exploits. But as he became more involved in the church, and in particular with the Latin American School of Liberation Theology, Herrera began exploring ways to use music to further his goals of social justice. Herrera traveled extensively throughout Latin America, working with community organizations, even as he finished his 4 years at seminary school, all the while toting his guitar and whipping it out for events. Actions and church meetings, reflection, meditation, prayer, all those things are important. All of these sounds are melded smoothly together by veteran super producer Greg Landau, Maldita Vecindad Susana Vaca, who met Herrera in the late 1980s on the Nueva Canción circuit. His CD is available in the donate tab of livingwagesf.org, and we have some at the table over there when you first come in. So I hope that you enjoy Francisco Herrera.
Introduction. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you. Let's hear again for our MC. Alright, well, really this is a kind of a musical welcome to our good brother and hero David Rovics, traveling now with Kamala throughout the West Coast and Hawaii as well. So that's good. So thank you. Thank you for being with us and guiding us in song and revolution. So buenas noches, everybody. Very happy to be here with you all. This very room that the Green Party decided to throw me into the walk for mayor in the year 2015, and we got 16% of the vote. And with ranked choice voting, we actually got 32% of the vote when you counted all the 1s, 2s, and 3s. So thank you, John Mark and the Green Party, for all the good work we've all done together. So this song is a very simple refrain that we can all sing together. It goes like this. People work now for the common good. There it is, ready? People work now for the common good. Let me hear it now, stronger. People work now for the common good. You won't believe what I heard. You won't believe war is not the answer anymore. It never was. You won't believe what I heard. Would you believe it? We don't have to cultivate our lives for war. Companies now have budgets that put people first. Working folks are making tools to listen to the earth. You won't believe what I heard, but it might be true. Together and decided not to do it, just like the guy who dreamt it once before. Gardens are now growing where there once were guns and tanks. Bees are pollinating where the flowers have come back. You won't believe what I heard, but it might be true. People work now for common good. One more time. People work now for common good. La 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 Now, instead of school for torture, people now work out. Families have time to play and sickness has stepped out. You won't believe what I heard, but it might be true. Here we go. People work now for the common good. One more time. People work now for the common good. You won't believe what I heard. Would you believe it? We all left the profiteers behind. Once the 99% decided not to kill, corporations simply could no longer steal. Instead of taxes for the war, we're funding schools and parks, science, libraries and sports, arts and poli-sci. My major. We organized our neighborhoods and lost our fear, and war's profit margin disappeared. You won't believe what I heard, but we can make it true. When people work now for the common good, nah. People work now for the common good, oh yeah. People work now for the common good. People work now for the common good. It's a Fort Benning, Georgia, that fabulous place where out of which came the military operatives that murdered John F. Kennedy, or at least part of the planning happened there, now we know. And of course the home of the School of Assassins, where pretty much every dictator in Latin America has been trained. And so there we were, singing it down. And we got it close to being shut down from three votes in Congress away from actually shutting the thing down, and then they decided to change the name to the Western Hemispheric, some bullshit that doesn't matter if we name it because it's the same shame. So from there was born this song. It goes. And very simple refrain. Close the school. es como mi madre, por eso la quiero yo. La riego cuando ella tiene sed, con agua y con mi sudor. Le canto desde la selva, a donde habita el jaguar, hasta la sierra del águila, hasta la playa que besa el mar. América, Shaunam, Mashatunam Shak, Rio Herta Quinash Kitikanuan. Shahon, Shivan, Siwan, the earth is like my mother, that's why I love her. I quench her thirst with water and with my sweat. I sing to her from the mountains of the jaguar to the forest of the eagle, to the sands that kiss the beach. America is a continent and not just one country, because the Indian planted it and unites it with her root. America, Shaunam, Mashatunam Shak, Rio Herta Quinash Kitikanuan, Shahon, Shivan, Siwan.
Here. So we have coming to the stage David Rovics, who is a singer-songwriter based out of Portland, Oregon, who is self-described musical cheerleader for the global left. And we have Kamala Emmanuel, who is a musician who moonlights as a socialist organizer and women's doctor from Brisbane, Australia. So thank you so much.
Good evening, San Francisco.
Good evening.
Living in a tent when a house costs $1 million and you can't pay the rent. When politicians say they'll help it keeps getting worse each time the landlord lobby pulls the strings of the purse. When the human right to housing isn't even part of living, you know you're living in a failed state. millions of citizens are spending half their lives locked up in a prison for trying to survive. When laws must be broken just to have a place to stay. When the prisons pay the senators, don't look the other way. If you have to be a criminal to put food upon your plate, you know you're living in a failed state. When you're facing climate breakdown, when trees are all on fire, when half the country's underwater, when climate change denier runs the nation, and the opposition party votes for oil rigs and pipelines, it's not so much a country as it is a corporation buckling under its weight. You know you're living in a failed state. When your nation is an empire facing daily blowback, and the only thing your leaders can think to do is attack, bipartisan consensus that we need to spend $700 billion before the year's end on a military budget to make America great. You know you're living in a failed state. Missile strikes in Baghdad, skies full of fighter jets, the tension in the air as thick as it gets. Their talking points are loaded at each press conference with what passes for an effort at historical reference. They talk of things that happened over 40 years before, that they say now bring us to the edge of World War. They talk about the hostages, so let us now rewind. When the students took the embassy, just what did they find? When the students took the embassy, I was just a kid, but I remember well the first things they did. Let all the women go while collecting all the trash on the shredded documents that weren't yet turned to ash, on the shredded documents that clearly showed the torture and corruption, how the power flowed. The concept of a captured state was one the Shah declined. When the students took the embassy, just what did they find? When the students took the embassy, they found the crimes of Sabah, had the CIA hiding under every rock, and that's where they had been, where the agents were based. They had a staff of thousands there, from there they laid to waste the dreams held by so many for a free society, like the one they overthrew back in 1953. Historic crimes exposed in the shredder once consigned. When the students took the embassy, just what did they find? When the students took the embassy.
Oh.
Jacob Blake was walking to his SUV. Alton Sterling was selling DVDs. Eric Garner had just broken up a fight. Breonna Taylor was asleep in the middle of the night. Tamir Rice was playing in the park. Elijah McClain was out walking after dark. Dominique Clayton was sleeping in her bed where she was shot by a cop in the back of her head. Say their names. Say their names. Say their names. Say their names. Walter Scott was driving to a store. Betty Jones was answering her door. Philando Castile was driving home with his girlfriend. Anthony Hill was naked on the grass when he met his end. Axel Ford was walking in his neighborhood. Michael Brown was blown away just standing where he stood. Kendra James was shot to death at a traffic stop by yet another unaccountable killer cop. Say their names. Say their names. Say their names. Say their names. Tatiana Jefferson was playing a video game with her little nephew. Gunned down just the same. Oscar Grant was celebrating the new year, handcuffed when the shots rang out that everyone could hear. Eric Reason pulled into a parking spot. Not long after that was when he was shot. George Floyd was just shopping in a store. Micah Xavier Johnson thought he was still at war. Say their names. Say their names. Say their names. Say their names. Say their names.
Oh.
Long time. You know, the rents have been going up since the 1840s, when the labor movement kind of kicked off in New York City in the 1840s. The landlords supported it because they knew that they could make more money when the workers got paid more. And it just keeps on going up. The rents keep on going up, commensurate with wages for a long time, and then they just kept on going up after the wages stagnated, and now here we are at the edge of something, don't know what. But there's a little country in the North Atlantic when the last financial collapse happened that they figured out what to do with their corrupt bankers, and I think that we should all learn from their example. Iceland is an island with 500,000 or so Vikings, mostly known for volcanoes, hot springs and fishing, known for its welfare state, for being good and socialistic, certainly not known for being corrupt or nepotistic. But in the USA and Europe, when they were deregulating banks, Iceland's politicians took bribes and joined their ranks. Soon you had a situation one would think just couldn't be. A bank whose debt was worth 10 times the country's GDP. When Wall Street imploded, sure enough it spread. Banks all over the world were floating in the red. All over the world, governments made the plan to cut spending and raise taxes on the working woman and working man. The banks were bailed out while the people had to pay. But in Iceland, people thought there must be a better way. And the earth stood still a moment. Fear was struck in every top. When Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers to fuck off. That's the chorus, it's a sing-along. My name is John Riley, I'll have your ear only a while. I left my dear home in Ireland, it was death, starvation, or exile. When I got to America, it was my duty to go. Enter the army and slog across Texas to join in the war against Mexico. It was there in the pueblos and hillsides that I saw the mistake I had made. Part of the conquering army with the morals of a bayonet blade. And there amidst all these poor dying Catholics, screaming children, the burning stench of it all, myself and 200 Irishmen decided to rise to the call. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. We marched beneath the green flag of St. Patrick, emblazoned with Erin Golra, right with the harp and the shamrock, and Erkat Pavlik Volga. Just 50 years after Wolf Tone, 5,000 miles away, the gangs called us a legion of strangers, and they can talk as they may. But from Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. We fought them in 5 major battles. Churubusco was the last. Overwhelmed by the cannons from Boston, we fell after each mortar blast. Most of us died on that hillside in the service of the Mexican state. So far from our occupied homeland, we were heroes and victims of fate. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. Across the ocean wide, where many ships have been, where many long remember those passengers within. All of those whose families were buried or in jail in the killing fields of Spain. When the Winnipeg set sail, across the ocean wide, across the open seas, a world better than the camps, the French authorities threw the people in, and if they lived to tell the tale, they'd be the light view. When the Winnipeg set sail, across the ocean wide, the ship was met at bay by the throngs of people who just had to come that day. In 1939, to cheer and cry and say, oh, hail solidarity, when the Winnipeg set sail. Across the ocean wide was where they had to flee, the thousands upon thousands of Spanish refugees from the lands of Europe where humanity had failed, to the shores of Valparaiso when the Winnipeg set sail. Behind these prison walls, there's a man who's won awards for the work that he has done and all that it affords, such as the knowledge of the horrors committed in our name. They can't stop the message, so the messenger gets flamed. Behind these prison walls, in solitary confinement, in a land of rolling hills and royalty and other such refinement, is someone who is a hero, the whistleblowers everywhere, who help them tell the world of the crimes of Tony Blair. Behind these prison walls, you will find a mortal man. The reason why we know what happened in Afghanistan, where the soldiers of the empire, whose sons had long before were torturing civilians in their terror war. Behind these prison walls is a part of WikiLeaks, an eloquent orator, but you won't hear him speak. Locked away in silence, one who knows too well how those in power act when there's another war to sell. Behind these prison walls is one who stands accused of exactly what offenses the U.S. has refused to say precisely which, or the mist, or to explain how he's not the same as other journalists. Behind these prison walls is a person made deprived of most of the things in life that keep us all alive. A person being tortured as we stand here now for revealing the war crimes. Why, when, where, how? Behind these prison walls, our very right to be informed of what the hell is going on is a teacup in this storm. With knowledge there is power, so the solution by the clown. A 24-hour-a-day indefinite lockdown.
Glorious message from our sponsors. So, you know, the theme of this event and the songs and the album is Workers of the World. Well, the song is Workers of the World Combined, you know, but you all know it as Workers of the World Unite. And that's, you know, I think close to our hearts and the San Francisco Living Wage Coalition, the idea of cross-border solidarity. And you know, for those of you, you know, that have been on this path with us, you know, that back in 2008, we started working with maquiladora workers in Ciudad Juarez. And that was, you know, during a period of time that they referred to as their great violence. A very dangerous time for workers, especially women workers. And we worked with a community organization there, or more than one, but one in particular, Las Hormigas, the ants, that kind of did their work underground. And they were basically having workshops out of the community center. They were training people to be organizers. And they were developing people in, you know, their leadership skills. By 2015, there were strikes at 5 different maquiladoras. These were maquiladoras, you know, had like 5,000, 6,000 workers, and they were all going out on strike. And they were all, you know, signing petitions for an independent union. Well, the companies responded, and many of these are companies that, you know, like Lexmark. I mean, this was the printer company. This is where they were filling their inkjets and their toner cartridges. The AD Comscope makes coaxial cable. There's 2 Foxconn factories there. One is assembling Dell computers, and also Apple, also doing computers for Apple. The companies responded by firing all of the leadership of the strikes. And people were bringing their complaints to the labor board, which was just violating Mexican law. I mean, you know, and Mexican law is stronger on paper than U.S. labor law, but it just wasn't being enforced. And so workers lost all of those strikes. With the election of Andrés Manuel López Obrador, things started to turn around. He declared that the minimum wage was being doubled along the border area from the equivalent of $4 US a day to $8 US a day. The factory owners in Matamoros refused to pay that. The 35,000 workers went out on strike. Finally, they all conceded and started paying the new minimum wage. And it fired off an organizing drive of independent unions. So the workers at the Panasonic plant, they organized the independent union. Down in Silao, Guanajuato, at the General Motors plant, we also had about 6,000 workers. They then threw out a corrupt company union, part of the federation of the CTM, the Confederation of Mexican workers, which if you know a little of the history of the previous governments and the this was just set up to protect the owners of the factories. And threw that out. They brought in, one of the things that we had fought for here in the U.S. and after that, the workers lost in Ciudad Juarez in 2015, we had a delegation down there to Ciudad Juarez and got people's stories, wrote up a report on it. You can see it on our website at livingwage-sf.org. We use that as an example, that worker protections needed to be put into a renegotiated NAFTA, into the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, and this was part of a national movement. There are some worker protections, and we're still testing those things. But in the case of like at Silao, Guanajuato, the General Motors plant, it actually worked. The workers there and unions here in the U.S. filed a complaint under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, and something called the Rapid Response Mechanism was activated. And the Mexican Ministry of Labor also came in, and they told General Motors, your trucks aren't going to be allowed into the U.S. We're barring your product from being exported into the U.S. And General Motors made about $3.5 billion last year. And the most profitable sector of their company was the light trucks. At this plant, I was saying that, workers start at like $8 per day. The maximum wage at this plant was $23 per day. And U.S. auto workers make more than that in an hour plus benefits. So the workers, with a lot of international solidarity bringing attention to it, they fought General Motors. They won an independent union. They got General Motors to the bargaining table, and with additional pressure put on General Motors finally conceded to signing a contract with them. They got their first union contract of their own union, independent union, and they elected a woman as the secretary, the general secretary of their union. Plant there, the Trinex plant, workers organized independent union. They also called for, a rapid response mechanism, and this grew then also to other plants. Right now in Piedra Negras, Coahuila, at the VU manufacturing plant, another auto parts plant, workers there have organized a union, and the management of that factory tried to bring in the corrupt CTM union for having their own protection contract, and workers still won a union election, had it certified. They're at the bargaining table, and the company is still refusing to bargain with them. They're just playing games at the bargaining table. So they're at the point of a strike.
On the 1st of May, known around the world as International Workers' Day, you'll still see people marching in every corner of the earth. St. John de Santiago, Carolina to Birth, all keeping alive the fantasy what could happen down the line when the workers of the world combine. See us gathering early in the morn. Some are celebrating the shackles we have shorn, while so many billions are just waiting for the moment that we might stop losing the class war. When someday we can all say, yeah, we're doing fine. When the workers of the world combine. Clothes transparent on emperors all round, everywhere that whistleblowers are to be found. WikiLeaks was too effective, it had to be beaten out. Let there be no doubt. Now they want to kill the messenger while most of us stand by, just waiting for this prisoner to die. Daniel Ellsberg blew the whistle on war crimes. He called out for someone to step up this time. With WikiLeaks assistance, when Chelsea Manning did on torture and mass murder, she blew the lid. And the war on WikiLeaks went into overdrive as the authorities tried hard to make sure it couldn't survive. Now they want to kill the messenger while most of us stand by, just waiting for this prisoner to die. With charges plucked from history, the Espionage Act, 3 used against Assange under the Extradition Pact. Not just Republican war criminals, but Democrats too, had it out for him now for telling what he knew. When the DNC rigged the race, got Clinton the nomination, put Sanders in his place. Now they want to kill the messenger while most of us stand by, just waiting for this prisoner to die. Now they'll call him a foreign agent, say he should be shot. They'll call him a narcissist, whatever defamation they got. They'll say he's not a journalist, unlike the ones in Moscow, reporting on the criminals that we allow. Reporters to report on, we give them the Nobel, while this Australian is caged and sent to hell. Now they want to kill the messenger while most of us stand by, just waiting for this prisoner to die. Now they want to kill the messenger while most of us stand by, just waiting for this prisoner to die. They were going on for years, and then Palestine Action started smashing up the gears. And that's when the people got up off of their seats, took their families into town and blockaded the streets. For 3 days and nights you could hear the hammer swing, though no one knew for sure what the future might bring. They knew one thing for certain, these weapons of war must not be sent to the wars they're heading for. So this is a note to 11-bit systems, you will be shut down when the sledgehammers of justice come to town. After smashing up equipment and smashing a whole bunch, a lot of folks began developing a hunch. The cops took 3 full days to send anyone inside, and after 15 hours they let the charges slide. It seems the prosecutors understand the climb, British companies aiding and abetting war crimes. The factory in Oldham had to close its gate, and the pluralists in Palestine said that's smashing great. So this is the 12-bit systems, you will be shut down when the sledgehammers of justice come to town. All around the wake up another morning, grind some coffee beans, turn on Al Jazeera, marvel at the scenes. Towns reduced to ashes while the twisters turn, as the planet floods and burns. Wake up another morning, picking on these strings. One more day to be here, find out what life brings. The horizon's red and easy, that much I can discern, as the planet floods and burns. Wake up another morning, watch the neighbors drive away, heading to a warehouse to work another day, leaving me to wonder how fast this wind can churn, as the planet floods and burns. Wake up another morning, see the Twitter trolls complaining about the fascists who are moving on the goal, demanding safe space in a boxcar and other such concerns, as the planet floods and burns. Wake up another morning, see the orange hue Know what needs to happen, don't know what to do. Show me to the ark, where's the bow and the stern, as the planet floods and burns. Wake up on the sea, to the collapsing buildings on the shores of Miami. You can see them on the TV, the crusaders of the north, talking from the tent camps about bringing freedom forth from the land where there's a massacre each and every day. Listen to the president say, Los Estados Unidos se creen el país elegido por Dios para acabar con el mundo en nombre de la libertad. In the halls of power in Washington, D.C., in the wake of all the blood they have spilled across the sea and across the very nation that they claim is so free, where 1 in 4 children each night go to bed hungry. The riot police are rioting here somewhere every night, but other people need more rights. Los Estados Unidos se creen el país elegido por Dios para acabar con el mundo en nombre de la libertad. In the name of freedom.
Let's do one more little song, and then thank you. Yeah, of the workers. This is a song I wrote after a protest where the cops killed a guy in Italy. When the world has gone crazy, and it's all becoming clear, when they're gunning down our comrades, and it seems the end is near, as they're loading up the launchers for the tear gas grenades, we can take off our bandanas and kiss behind the barricades. When it's madness all around, and you can see this at a glance, we will sing and we will cry, we will laugh and we will dance, as they shout their marching orders beneath our helicopter blades. We shall seize the moment for a kiss behind the barricades. They will try to break our spirit, and at times they may succeed, but our love for the world is stronger than their greed. When the building is surrounded and hope begins to fade, in my final hour, a kiss behind the barricades. As the movement grows, there will be hills and bends, but at the center of the struggle are your lovers and your friends. And the more we hold each other up, the less we can be swayed. Here's to love and solidarity, and a kiss behind the barricade.